In this video, we'll study about the changes in the third week of the germinal period. The most significant change in the third week of the development is the conversion of the bilaminar germ disc into trilaminar one by a process called gastrulation. This takes place with the advent of the intra-embryonic secondary mesoderm, which appears between ectodermal and endodermal layers of the germ disc. Next, we'll see what are the changes in the germ disc or embryonic area. The outline of the flattened germ disc is at first circular. It rapidly changes into an oval area, the maximum diameter of which indicates the future axis of the embryo. At about 18th day of development, the disc becomes pear-shaped with a broad cephalic end and a narrow caudal end. The connecting stalk is attached to the caudal end of the disc. The ectodermal layer of the disc, that is the epiblast, differentiate into three functional zones. The cells occupying the cephalic end and the adjacent peripheral margin of the disc form the semilunar area, which is known as the surface ectoderm. So this area is the surface ectoderm, which is destined for the development of the epidermis of the skin. The neuroectodermal cells are situated within the concavity of the surface ectoderm, and this forms the medullary or neural plate. So the neural plate or the medullary plate is formed by the neuroectodermal cells, and it is situated within the concavity of the surface ectoderm. The epiblast cells occupying the caudal part of the germ disc are pluripotent in character and undergo rapid differentiation to form a linear opacity in the median plane, which is known as primitive streak. So here you can see this is the pluripotent cells. So these cells will modify to form the primitive streak, which is a linear opacity. So in this picture you can see the green color one is the primitive streak, which is a modification of the pluripotent cells in the caudal end of the germ disc in the median plane. The primitive disc appears at about the 15th day of development, and it is characterized by a narrow median groove and slightly raised lateral margins. The streak is formed by active migration and invagination of the pluripotent ectodermal cells into the space between epiblast and hypoblast. This process of invagination is known as gastrulation. This is the epiblast and this is the hypoblast, and this is the primitive streak area. So from the primitive streak area, the cells invaginate between the epiblast and hypoblast. Some of the ingressing epiblast cells, they invade the hypoblast and displace the cells of the primary endoderm to form a new layer that is called as the definitive endoderm. Some of the cells, the epiblast cells, they migrate bilaterally from the primitive streak and occupy the space between the epiblast and the definitive endoderm to form a third germ layer, that is the intra-embryonic mesoderm. Thereafter, the epiblast is named as the definitive ectoderm. Thus, the ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm of the trilaminar germ disc are derived from the pluripotent epiblast. at the cephalic end of the streak. So this is the primitive streak. At the cephalic end of the streak, the cells, they proliferate to form a knob-like elevation called primitive node or Hensen's node, which is slightly bulges into the amniotic cavity. So this is the amniotic cavity. It bulges into the amniotic cavity. The primitive streak acts as the primary organizer and induces the differentiation of the notochord and intraembryonic or secondary mesoderm. The center of the Hensen's node or the primitive knot or primitive node presents a depression. This is known as the primitive pit, which corresponds with the blastopore of the lower vertebrates. The primitive pit is surrounded by a cord of cells that extends in a cephalic direction in a median plane from the Hensen's node to the precaudal plate and intervenes between the medullary plate or the neuroectoderm and the endodermal layer of the roof of the yolk sac. In this image, you can see this is the primitive streak and this is the primitive node or Hensen's node. The center of the Hensen's node presents a depression that is known as the primitive pit. This corresponds with the blastopore of the lower vertebrates. The primitive pit, surrounded by a cord of cells, extends in a cephalic direction in a median plane from the Hensen's node to the precaudal plate. So this is a precaudal plate. It extends up to the precaudal plate and this intervenes between the medullary plate or neural plate and the endodermal roof of the yolk sac. This canalized cellular cord is known as the notochordal or head process, which becomes distinguishable on the 17th or the 18th day of the development. The notochordal process cannot extend headward beyond the precaudal plate because here the ectodermal and the endodermal layer are intimately blended here. Therefore, the further growth of the head process extends in the caudal direction. And this explains why the caudal end of the germ disc is narrower than the cephalic end. As the development continues, the cells in the floor of the notochordal canal, it fuses with the underlying endodermal cells of the roof of the yolk sac. Subsequently, both groups of cells disappear in craniocaudal direction. The cells in the floor of the notochordal canal, it fuses with the underlying endodermal cells of the roof of the yolk sac and subsequently both the cells disappear in the craniocaudal direction. And the notochordal canal, it communicates with the yolk sac. Since the notochordal canal already established connection with the amniotic cavity through the primitive pit at the Hensen's node, a temporary neurenteric canal is formed communicating the fluid of the yolk sac with that of the amniotic cavity. Probably the formation of neurenteric canal provides nutrition by diffusion to the ectodermal surface of the germ disc, where the cells are in process of rapid differentiation and intraembryonic blood circulation is not yet developed. The intercalation of the notochordal process forms the notochordal plate along the roof of the yolk sac. Later, the notochordal plate folds along its long axis and gradually escalates from the roof of the yolk sac, which is now lined by uninterrupted endodermal layer. The notochordal plate forms a solid flexible cord of cells which is known as a definitive notochord. It acts as a forerunner in the development of the primitive vertebral column and induces the differentiation of the neural tube from the medullary plate. The notochordal cells persist in the first decade of life as nucleus pulposus in the center of the intervertebral disc. Meanwhile, the cells from the sides of the primitive streak actively proliferate and migrate laterally and forward between the ectodermal and the endodermal layer of the germ disc, and the newly developed intermediate layer thus formed is known as the intraembryonic or secondary mesoderm. At the periphery of the embryonic area, the secondary mesoderm is continuous with the primary mesoderm, which covers the amniotic cavity and the yolk sac. The secondary mesoderm extends over the whole of the embryonic area except in the median plane in the region of the precaudal plate and caudal to the primitive streak. An oval shaped bilaminar area which is known as the buccopharyngeal or oropharyngeal membrane appears in the precaudal plate due to failure of insinuation of mesodermal cells between the tightly adherent ectodermal and endodermal layers over this area. And during the head fold of the embryo, the buccopharyngeal membrane occupies the bottom of the primitive oral cavity. Similarly, caudal end of the germ disc, another bilaminar area, the cloacal membrane develops between the primitive streak and the connecting stalk. This membrane lies at the bottom of the endodermal cloaca during the tail fold of the embryo and subsequently divides into anal and urogenital membrane. Cephalic to the buccopharyngeal membrane, the secondary mesoderm crosses the midline and occupies the most cephalic part of the embryonic area as a horseshoe-shaped pericardial bar. So in this image you can see this is the buccopharyngeal membrane and this is the cloacal membrane. Associated with the formation of cloacal membrane, a tubular endodermal outgrowth known as the allantoenteric diverticulum or allantois arises from the dorsicaudal end of the yolk sac and extends into the primary mesoderm of the connecting stalk. In lower vertebrates, allantoic diverticulum is distended and acts as a reservoir of the excretory products of the urinary system. Probably in man, the allantois helps to vascularize the chorion and its villi with the allantoic or umbilical blood vessels. It is observed during the third week that the cephalic part of the germ disc grows more at expense of the caudal part, where the primitive streak supplies a continuous stream of new cells migrating in headward direction. The primitive streak regresses at the end of the third week and disappears by the 26th day of development. Most of the teratogenic agents producing gross fetal malformation affect the germ disc between the 15th and 18th day of development, when the formation of the primitive streak and the notochord are affected commonly. Next we'll see what are the changes in the trophoblast. The primary chorionic stem villi formed in the second week are changed into secondary chorionic villi with the appearance of central core of the somatopleuric layer of primary mesoderm. At the end of the third week, the secondary villi are converted into tertiary villi by the growth of the chorionic blood vessels into the mesodermal core of the secondary villi. Each tertiary villus presents from center to periphery a layer of endothelial cells of the chorionic capillaries. Then you have the primary mesoderm, then you have the cytotrophoblast, then you have the syncytiotrophoblast. From the vascular tertiary villi, numerous branching villi project into the intravillous spaces. The primary mesodermal cells and the chorionic blood vessels do not reach the outer cytotrophoblastic shell of the blastocyst.